Craig's final James Bond movie has been anticipated since its announcement. It is Daniel Craig's last time playing this iconic character, and because of the lockdown, the cinemas had to delay the release date. So people were excited to return to the cinemas and built up high expectations for this movie. So, No Time to Die. It has a good start. Like all of Craig's Bond movies, starts with suspenseful, intense action. James is spending some peaceful time trying to settle down with his new love interest, Madeline, but he still mourns the death of Vesper. He's never really moved on from her. It's shown that she's still very much relevant to his story. He she is the only woman that he's ever truly loved, right until the end. Most of us agree that she was the best Bond girl throughout the franchise. But the good times don't last. James' past catches up to him and he's forced to go back into his old life as 007. They brought back the villain from Spectre. I always thought he was a boring villain. They brought him back only to be killed off in the only screen time he had. Uh, they also introduced a new villain, so it was a quick way for the writers to kill him off, to give the new villain center stage. And the new villain wasn't very interesting either. He was a very typical generic bad guy, and his dialogues were also very typical and generic. I think that Skyfall had the best villain. He represented the tragic life of a top secret agent. He was a broken man filled with physical and emotional pain, and he felt betrayed by the system that he dedicated his life to protect, showing James Bond that he could end up with the same fate. This film has 3 Bond girls. Pomola wasn't given much to do in this film. She was on screen for a few minutes, but then she was never mentioned after that again. I thought that she was underused and could have had more screen time. The new agent was supposed to replace James Bond as 007 after his retirement, but after he returns, he gets his 007 title again. At first, she saw James Bond as her competition, but then she grew admiration for him and they later learned to work well together. Madeline is the one that he decides to settle down with, and they end up having a child together. James Bond dies at the end of this franchise as he sacrifices himself to save his family. Seeing Daniel Craig's James Bond die, it feels like you get a flashback of his character's journey throughout the previous movies coming to an end. I didn't really care about Madeline being his love interest, and because of that, I didn't feel the impact of his sacrifice. The actress playing Madeline has no chemistry with Daniel Craig, and she's pretty boring, to be honest. Like I said before, Vesper was the only one of his loving relationships that felt authentic. They both had an interesting chemistry. She had a good character development, and the actress Eva Green playing her was very charismatic. It would have been sweet to see him finally retire with a woman he loved. That's what he's been trying to do for the past 4 films. The tragedy of his life was the fact that he could never escape from his violent lifestyle. So, him dying in the service was his inevitable fate. But I think that him ending his career in retirement would have been a more satisfying payoff. Since I didn't feel any chemistry between him and Madeline, his death felt underwhelming, but it was still quite emotional to see it happen. Overall, No Time to Die wasn't anything great as it was anticipated to be. It didn't top Casino Royale or Skyfall. I would even go as far as to say that I enjoyed Quantum of Solace better than No Time to Die. I didn't hate Quantum of Solace as much as most people did, but this film wasn't bad either. You could argue that it did better than Spectre. Daniel Craig's performance was more enthusiastic than it was in Spectre, and the action was good. It wasn't too over the top like some of the previous films. No Time to Die is not a traditional James Bond like it was in Casino Royale, with Bond going on undercover spy missions, sleeping with beautiful women, and facing the conflict between his private life and his professional life. This was just a action thriller about a man trying to protect his family. It had a pretty solid story. The villain was generic. The Bond girls were not very interesting, and the ending was emotional, whether or not it was satisfying. You either love it or you hate it. The movie was just alright with a decent payoff. How I rate Daniel Craig's James Bond movies goes as follows: Casino Royale, Skyfall. Although I'm conflicted between them two, I think they are both equally good for different reasons. And then Quantum of Solace, No Time to Die, and finally Spectre.